why you think so many independent artists don't invest in themselves. We talk about it all the time when we talk about production. We have so many artists that just use these free beats on YouTube or whatever. It's not to the level it should be.
They want to see if that artist has taken the time to better themselves. Have they built up their following? Are they doing their promotion? Do they have real listeners so that the label can just come alongside the indie and help them do more than what they're doing? They don't want to take somebody who doesn't even invest in their own self.
Coming live on your radio. What they want? That real and raw. How they get it? DJ Focus. What we doing? Making music, reaching the corner. And it's all for the kingdom. And we gonna make sure they know it. We gon' take it there. I like red letters over trap beats to fix it saying, ooh. DJ Focus, tell him turn you up. Ooh. DJ Focus, tell him turn you up. Ooh.
And we back. DJ Focus, Dice Gamble. You tap back into the Fixx, your source of faith-infused hip-hop, army, and poetry. It's time for our spiritual detox. And we got a special one for y'all today. We got to welcome in, listen, a gospel Billboard chart-topping artist. She's been making waves for a while now. She's not new to this. She has been doing music at a high level. But we are excited because she got a new little anthem out. And when I tell you it's a whole little vibe to it, I am excited to talk to her about it. And I'm pretty sure she probably got a project she want to talk about or something. The super talented Angela Moss Poole. How you doing, sis?
Hey, DJ Focus. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I know it's been a long day, but listen, I want to make time for you always to talk about this new song.
Well, come on and let's talk about the production first. I was excited when I looked at the production creds and I saw your son and Agape group on it. So talk about, what was the inspiration and the thought process going into the studio, how they created the production for this?
It's so funny. This song came out on one of my first projects, like way back, maybe 2007, somewhere back there, 2010. Okay. And it was what I thought was hip hop back then. It's like R&B back then. And my son Bachi was probably maybe 10 years old back then. And over the years, he's always been saying, one day I would love to redo the song Because of You. He's like, it's one of my favorite songs. It's like a prayer. I love that song. I sing it all the time. And he would just, every few years, he would say, one day. So this year he said, I'm really serious. You need to let me produce this song. I think it could be a bop. And I didn't know like what it could sound like, because I'm over here doing gospel music. I'm doing some inspirational jazz. I'm doing my praise and worship. And I said, well, if you're going to make it a bop, if you're going to update it, I trust you, but you got to get the Agape music group because they're all about worship and 808s. So I said, I think they'd be the perfect combination to make it come to life. And then I said, and then we got to bring in Paris Careers. We got to bring in a rapper on this. If we're going to update it, let's just go all the way and do it. And I just had to put it in their hands and trust them. And it was indeed a bop.
So I'm glad you said that you had to put it in their hands and trust them.
Yes.
Was that hard for you? Because to your point, again, you are a legend in this space. You've been doing it for a long time. So was that hard for you to release that?
It was, because as a producer, you always have a concept in your mind for how you think it's going to go. So I gave them my initial input. I said, okay, it's got to have Agape. It's got to be, a certain way. It's got to have, Paris. But once I put you guys in there, I have to trust y'all going to know what to do. So when I was in the studio, it was a little bit of an adjustment, having my son tell me how to, do the vocals and vocally producing me and saying, do it this way, do it that way. And just, trust me. I had to a couple times we had a few little conflicts, but after a while I realized he knew what he was doing. He's produced his own, hits. He's working with Agape. They know what they're doing. So, after a while, just took my hands off and let them handle it.
That's good. So, this song being recreated, did it come out the way you thought it would come out?
It came out better than I thought it would come out. It's funny. There's actually a second verse to the original song that once I heard Paris verse, I was like, I don't even need that second verse anymore. Like, this is the second verse. Yeah. And so if people go back, and I see some people actually went and found the initial album on, I think it's on Amazon Music out there somewhere. It's not even on DSPs. That's how old that first album was. People are finding like the eBay version of that CD.
Wow.
And they're playing the original song. And if you listen to that, you'll hear a verse that's not even on here, because once I heard what Paris had to say, I was like, that's it. We're good.
Well, listen, because I thought this was a brand new song. I knew I couldn't find it. So you're right. Some people really did some digging.
They're digging, yes.
So let's talk about it then. Is
Okay.
this a new style for you? Or do you think that you might do a full project, more urban gospel with the hip hop flavor to it?
You know, I love this whole inspirational hip hop, Christian R&B vein. I love it. I love that it's kind of morphing right now. You can't really define it. It's a new thing. And I'm feeling it. I love it because I love all kind of music. I love jazz, hip hop, country, R&B, praise and worship. So I'm happy that I have this sense, especially working with Agape, of mixing that worship and the 808s, right? And making it so that young people can worship too and get something that they like to hear with R&B. So yeah, I'm for it. I'm like, let's do it. Let's see what we can do. I want to collaborate with more rappers.
Well, I was about to say, I get you're working with Agape on the production and your son, but that's the next thing I was going to ask. Could we see maybe Agape featured on the song, not only just the production, or your son featured on the song, not just the production?
Absolutely. And you might see me featured on some songs from some other, CHH rappers. You never know. You might hear me on some hooks coming your way.
Let me know. Let me find out you got some hooks already on the show.
I'm open. I already sang on my son's Heart on Fire. I don't know if you knew that was me singing on there. So that was like a little practice, like, okay, let me hop on here, So yeah, I would love to do that again. I think it's fun. And it's for where we are right now, where the church is right now. We need to be all about, meeting people where they are, and that's musically too. And music is changing, and we need to be right there bringing the gospel right along with the music, wherever music is.
So I'm glad you brought that up when you talk about the church being able to receive, different sounds and not just be stuck on the praise and worship. Why do you think we're still in 2024 even having that discussion? I mean, it's been how many years since Kirk Franklin has done Stomped? And
I know
you would figure we have broken that wall.
Have gone too far. You think we got too radical, and they still think we're too radical.
Yeah. In your humble opinion, why do you think we still have some naysayers who still don't agree or like the sound of more of the urban gospel or the Christian R&B hip hop flavor?
Yeah, I think it's tradition. I think it's fear. If you think about it, like when back in the day, like in the 60s, when Mahalia Jackson was singing, they said her stuff was too much blues, and she created a whole like R&B sound for her time in the church. And if you listen to Mahalia Jackson today, to us, it sounds very traditional, right? Very like hymns. And we listen to it, we're like, oh, that sounds like something my grandmother would, like. So I can imagine what she was going through when they were telling her she was bringing the blues in the church. That what we just put out because of you, just thinking 50 years, that's going to sound like regular traditional stuff, right? So I think it's just a matter of time. People change, people age, people transition, they move on. And I think music moves with it. And for some reason, it's sad that gospel music is always kind of behind the curve with that. But I think we'll come along. I think we're making our way. The young people are going to demand it.
Come on, Angela, talk about it. What's one thing or multiple things that you've been in the game for a while, you sung multiple genres of music, the show is called The Fixx. So if you could change something in the industry, the music industry, whether it be gospel, R&B, jazz, whatever, it doesn't matter the genre. If you could change something on the business side, what's one business thing or multiple business things that you could give to maybe an independent up and coming artist like you that they might need to know these things going into it,
Yeah, I would say definitely collaboration. Collaboration is going to be the key. And that's why I was so honored to collaborate on because of you, to work with my son, to reach back to the younger generation and mentor. I didn't mention this before, but Agape Music Group, Sequoia Howard sang at my wedding almost 30 years ago. She was like 8 years old. She sang at our wedding. I've known her from a little baby, her and her family. And then Paris is like one of my sons, so I think it's just important that we collaborate and that we're willing to work with other generations, because when you're doing your music, you can't be out here by yourself. You have to collaborate. You have to be open to other sounds, open to other styles. You got to save your money, right? And you have to be willing to be patient for the long term. And, we have a conference coming up in Tallahassee. I don't know if you heard about it, May 31st and June 1st. It's the Music Business Conference. And I'm hosting that conference through the Institute for Music Business. And we're really teaching independent artists that they're not just artists, but they're independent labels. And so you can't just be focused on just the performance. This industry has 4 P's. It has performance. Mm-hmm. It has production. That's all the songwriting and composition. It has publishing. You got to know your publishing, and you got to know your promotion. And so with the Institute, we're going to be talking about all those areas that artists need to know about. And it's so much more than just being on stage.
No, so stay right there for a minute, because I'm glad you guys are having something like that, because a lot of independent artists think that they just need to be the talent. Mm-hmm. You know, talk a little bit more about that and the difference between being independent, being signed from signed with a major or a label, and what you need to structure. If you just give a few things, I know you want everybody to come to the conference, but if you can give a few things, just talk about that, because we have a lot of independent artists that are listening right now, and I know they need to understand this.
Yes, and that's why I'm always talking about those 4 P's, because we think about performance, and that's the more obvious thing. But those other 3 P's that I mentioned, that publishing, that production, that promotion, that's all that what the independent artist needs to be learning and dealing with, because that's what a label does for you. Basically, a label handles all of your business, and an independent artist is paying for their own music. They're paying for their own music video, right? They're doing their own YouTube videos and hair and makeup, recording, paying for all the studio time. They're being the label, and they don't realize it. And so the more you learn that you are a business, you are a label, then you'll stop waiting for a major to sign you, and you'll sign yourself. You'll invest in yourself.
Why do you think so? Why do you think so many independent artists don't invest in themselves? Because to your point, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We talk about it all the time when we talk about production. Shouts out to the Agape group, as well as your son, understanding sonically good production. We have so many artists that just use these free beats on YouTube or whatever, and it's not to the level it should be. So talk to that and the importance of investing in yourself and having a budget that you need to have as an independent artist.
You have to invest in yourself to learn the skills, go to conferences, meet people, make connections and networks. So sometimes that involves travel. Sometimes you may have to take a course. You may have to meet somebody and hire in another producer or bring on a feature to your project to give the sound that you need. And all that takes investment. And it's not going to come easy. And a label wants to see, before they sign an independent artist, they want to see if that artist has taken the time to better themselves. Have they built up their following? Are they doing their promotion? Do they have real listeners, so that the label can just come alongside the indie and help them do more than what they're doing? They don't want to take somebody who doesn't even invest in their own self, doesn't better them. They just want somebody to sign them and give them money, right? And so you're going to have to show that you want to grow. If you're a producer making beats, you can't be doing, all this splice. You got to be creative, right? You got to be original. Now, if you're going to use samples, make sure they're cleared, right? Learn a little bit of music theory, get better at keyboard, get better at drums, maybe learn a live instrument. Listen to what's charting, listen to what's, out there on the top, and see how your music sounds compared to that, and work to get it to the level that it is radio quality, that it's on the same level. It takes work. It takes time. Even me as a vocalist, I still have to do like vocal lessons, and I still have to keep myself, ready when I go out. I still have to rehearse with my band, and I'm always, still trying to create a new sound and writing new music. I have to keep a journal. I'm always writing. It's just never finished. You're always growing.
You've done so much over your career. What's that one thing that, you were kind of like surprised that God kind of showed up and showed out? You was like that wow moment, like, wow, have you had one of those moments where you felt like, wow, I can't believe I accomplished this, or I did this, and how God showed up?
I have. There have been so many. When I look back over my life, there's been times where I've had miracles where God has, healed our family, me and my family, of health scares. And I said, God, wow, you're real. There's been times we've gone through financial challenges, and it's like, wow, God, you're amazing. But I could just think of recent things that he's done. He's allowed me to accomplish things and get certain, milestones. All that's been great. I've had businesses. All that's been great. But the thing that stands out to me was with my music, I really wasn't. I was being like most independent artists. I was doing my music like a hobby. I wasn't really, handling my business the way that I know to do it now. Back when I did that first album that's on eBay, right? I was just happy to make some music, right? But over the years, I discovered it wasn't just a hobby, and I started being able to write for other artists and start making those investments and start really being a label. And when I partnered with Fred Jerkins with Dark Child, and we did My Help with Micah Stampley, that song was my second radio song, but it was like my first real run at radio. Like, let's just really do this. Let's make this investment. Let's do it. That song was number one back when we had the indicator charts. It was number one on the charts for 5 consecutive weeks. And it became number one on Christmas Day. So that was like a Christmas gift. You know, I was like, Lord, that was you. You know, I know that was you. You put your signature on it. And it was like God was saying, you're working hard. I see you. Keep going. You know, so that always kind of sticks out in my mind, along with other things. God has just been amazing. But as far as in music, that's something that kind of let me know, now that you're learning this, write it down. I developed a curriculum. I'm using this doctorate in education to make a curriculum for this institute to teach other independent artists how to do this, how to build their label, how to approach radio, how to promote their music, how to get the right producers, how to manage those 4 Ps.
Listen, I'm glad you document everything and you'll have everything for me. That's powerful, because I think people will be able to use it as a resource for years to come. What was it like when you first connected with the legendary Fred Jerkins? Like, talk about that, because I know that had to be a wild moment, because I know if I had to, come on, talk about that.
Yes, it was. And it's so funny because my husband and I went to meet with Fred to let him hear, so I thought, to let him hear my son's music, because Botches has music in film and TV, and people were trying to get him different publishing deals. So we were like, oh yeah, let me let you hear some of his music. And so my husband was like, we're just playing music and just talking about our label and just really going for advice and mentorship. And my husband pulls out this flash drive, and he says, well, she's not going to say anything, but she has music too. Because remember, I still was thinking it's a hobby. You know, I just like to sing. I had other people doing my songs as demos, just having fun. And Fred said, well, pop it in, let's listen. And the song that he listened to was a few different songs, and he was like, well, who's singing that? And I said, well, it's a demo singer. And, well, who's that? That's so-and-so, you know, some other demo person. And then he said, well, what's that one? I said, well, that's me. And he was like, what? Like, he said, don't you ever let these people sing your song. Why are you using demo singers? Stop doing that. You need to sing your songs. And I think it took for him to say that. You know, people have been saying all my life, you should sing, but you should do music. But I've always thought, I don't think I'm worthy to really do this. You know, there's so many other great, quote, real singers, you know, in my mind out there, right? Mm-hmm. But when Fred said, no, there's a space for your voice is different. You need to do this. Because he said it, it gave me like belief in myself and faith, because he hears everything, right? He's heard and worked with everybody. So he says everybody, yes. I could trust and believe that he's hearing something that I'm not hearing, and I can have confidence in myself. So that really let me know, okay, let's do this. And then when he brought in Micah Stampley on that song, My Help, first he pushed You Deserve, and then he said, you know, let's circle back and listen to some of those other songs you had for demos, because I had somebody else demoing My Help. He said, I have an idea. I think this could be a duet, and I think I know who could do it. And when he brought Micah on to My Help, it was just like, from there on, we were like, okay, we know how to do this. You have to collaborate. You have to be patient. You have to have the right team. You know, you have to put the right investment behind it. And you have to have in your mind that you're going to do this not as a hobby, but as a business.
How do you balance it all? I mean, you do so much. What keeps you grounded with your mental health well-being? So, like, you know, are you one that, you know, are singing or, you know, exercising, meditating? What keeps your mental intact? Because you do so much. You wear so many different hats. Like, talk about what keeps you together mentally.
Yeah, and I wish I could sit here and tell you every morning I have this ritual that I know, you know, that I do. It's not. I wish I was that consistent, but I do make sure to work hard, and then I shut down. I take days off. Like, even after this, we're gonna go away for like 4 or 5 days and just relax, you know, and just come back and get ready for the conference, and then we're gonna relax again. You know, you have to take time off. I do have a trainer. I try to work out at least 2 to 3, you know, days a week. I try to eat pretty balanced, drink water, try to go to bed at a decent hour. But sometimes we don't have it all in balance, honestly. There are times I'm telling my husband, oh my gosh, I'm really stressed out. I need to get a massage. And he'll be like, shut it down. Let's go. You know, relax. It's time to relax. Because sometimes we can push ourselves and we can lose that balance. It's important. You have to read your word, have devotion. You have to pray. You have to do all those things. And you also have to have discipline and take care of yourself and take your schedule back. Sometimes you have to cancel meetings. There's been times I've said, I just have to reschedule. I need to rest. And you can take back your schedule and get rest when you need it.
That's good. Listen, I thank you for coming by. Come on and definitely tell the people how they can connect with you, follow you on all your social media platforms, and please introduce your latest single.
Yes, you can find me on all social media platforms, everywhere on the web at Angela Moss Poole, at Angela Moss Poole. And this latest single is Because of You, featuring Paris Cariz and produced by Bocce and the Agape Music Group.
Keep it locked. You tune into The Fixx. You know The Fixx is in.